Okay, I finally have some time. I'm going to try to pump out some videos today. There's been a lot of stuff in the news that connects to the Amtrak derailments and also a lot of Philadelphia deaths and also references as of late. So I want to go back to this former Kansas football player who died, Brandon Bourbon. Says he dies at the age of 24 on April 8th. Anyway, his name in gematria equals 65, just like Kansas, the team that he played for. Also, Philadelphia, the small way, equals 65. His name also reminded me of the engineer or the driver of the Philadelphia train wreck last year in May. His name was Brandon Bostian. Don't know if that's a huge connection, but Brandon Bourbon. It just makes me think of that. The double B, the BB, which could be 22, which is significant because we've seen a lot of 79 in regards to Pope Francis, who just turned 79 in December. 79 is the 22nd prime. BB can also be the 88 and whatnot. But anyway, notice this guy. When he played for Kansas, he wore number 25, and he died 25 days after the Kansas train derailment. It's also a span of 3 weeks and 4 days. The 34. Kansas is the 34th state. I've talked a lot about that in regards to the Civil War domestic violence type theme that they've been running. I've also talked a lot about how the 34 is connected to the 923. I'm not exactly sure why, but it's definitely connected. Also, this guy supposedly died of suicide. Suicide equals 34 gematria. I was thinking of his last name, Bourbon. It just reminds me of the whiskey or whatever it is. Bourbon, Kentucky Bourbon. And I just typed in his last name. And in English gematria, it equals 522, just like the word Antonin for Antonin Scalia. Lots of other 522 stuff I've talked about previously. David Blatt, the coach of the Cavs, was born on May 22nd, 522, which this year just so happens to be the 143rd day of the year. The Kansas train wreck happened on March 14th, which can be written as 14/3, a lot like 143. David Blatt was even fired after coaching the Cavs for 143 games. There's also been a whole lot of 143, but I'm going to move on, I guess. Bourbon also equals 87, another number that I have talked about a whole lot as of recent. Easter was on the 87th day of the year. I even noticed how it was connected to the 219 that I kept seeing around the Golden State Warriors. If you write out back-to-back championships, it equals 219. But if you go from the Philadelphia train wreck last year on May 12th and you go to 8/7, it's a span of 87 days. Then if you go to Pope Francis's birthday, it's 219 days. If you go from 8/7 to the day Pope Francis became Pope, or his 3rd anniversary, 219 days. August 7th, 8/7, in a non-leap year is the 219th day. So a lot of interesting connections to the number 87 and Pope Francis. Also interesting, Bourbon and Jewish gematria, 424. He died at the age of 24, so just the mirrors, 42, 24. I've also talked a lot about the X theme in the Super Bowl and whatnot. The score was 24-10. 10 in Roman numerals is an X, so it was like XX. The Super Bowl was super coded to the 85 Bears, who won Super Bowl 20, Super Bowl XX. Tons of other X stuff. When you write out 24 in Jewish gematria, it equals 1881, which just stands out. I've seen a lot of foreshadowing of Obama being assassinated, and they love to connect them to previous assassinated presidents. Just like I'm sure everybody's seen the JFK connections to Abraham Lincoln, like JFK shot in a Ford, Abraham Lincoln died in Ford's Theater, stuff like that. But James Garfield was assassinated in 1881. He got shot at a train station and then died 79 days later on September 19th. So just pretty interesting. There's been all these Amtrak crashes and whatnot. We've talked about the theater shootings. Lots of foreshadowing to Obama's assassination. And then this guy even gets shot at the train station and dies 79 days later. It's completely connected. Just wanted to point that out. The Kansas train wreck was also in Gray County that was founded on 3/13 of 1881. Remember, Pope Francis became the Pope on 3/13 of 2013. I talked about how it's connected to Merle Haggard's death. Haggard, Kansas is in Gray County. If you go to Wikipedia, it's the only place that will pop up when you type in the word Haggard. Also, if you write out 1881, it equals 181. And that just stands out to me because on January 18th, which can be written as 18/1, the Cleveland Cavaliers lost to the Warriors by 34 points. It was also 34 games after LeBron was 9 of 23. Also, in regards to the 79, Jayhawk, Kansas Jayhawks, this guy was a Jayhawk. Jayhawk equals 79 and 25. He even wore number 25. And we've talked about the 70 died. I also, in regards to the X theme, for whatever the reason, I kept thinking of the sign, the railroad crossing sign. And just interesting, it has the big X on it. If you do it in gematria, R would be the 9, then X, then 9. So literally 9, 6, 9. A lot like the orbital speed of Saturn. And we've seen a ton of deaths around the number 69 this year, David Bowie and whatnot. Cleveland Cavaliers also equals 69 the small way. They show the Twitters on the article or whatever. They show his friend and whatnot tweeted a picture of him. Ben Heaney. He plays for the Oakland Raiders now. That's where the Golden State Warriors play, Oakland. Just funny, too, he's got his one eye closed. The Raiders have the patch on their eye and whatnot, so maybe that's why he's doing it. But no doubt they put this picture up in the mainstream article just to show the one-eye symbolism. This guy even wears number 51 for the Oakland Raiders. We've talked a lot about 51 in regards to the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron James equals 51. Cleveland Cavs equals 51. Cleveland equals 51. Cleveland hasn't won a sports championship in 51 years. An interesting 51s, though. Donald Trump is exactly 15 years, 51 days older than Obama. Pope Francis also turned 15 years old in the year 1951. Also, the reason 15 and 51, I think, are so significant this year, other than the Cleveland stuff, is that it's connected to Philadelphia. 1915 is exactly 101 years ago. Philadelphia, if you write it out in gematria, the big way equals 101. And if you go from 1951, it's a span of 65 years. Philadelphia, the small way equals 65. So 15 and 51 have a direct connection to Philadelphia. 15 is 101 years ago, 51, 65. Philadelphia equals 101 and 65. So also, in regards to the Philadelphia train wreck last year, I just re-looked it up, and it says that the worst train wreck before that on the same part of the track, the Northeast Corridor, was in 1987. So we have Bourbon that equals 87. Pope Francis connected to 87, Easter on the 87th day. It actually even says that it was on January 4th, 1987. It was train 94, Northeast Corridor equals 94. It was also going 108 miles an hour, a number we've just seen a whole lot lately. Haggard equals 108, Villanova equals 108, Golden State Warriors equals 108. Pope Francis's birthday is 108 days before the latest Philadelphia train wreck in Chester On April 3rd, which can also be written as 3/4. Just kind of interesting, the picture they show you too. Just it's a V, the 22. Don't know if that's significant. Just sticks out to me. Also, the January 4th, though, this was on January 4th of 87. That's super significant because that's the day that Elton Brand came out of retirement and he came back to the Philadelphia 76ers this year. It was 146 days after retiring. Talked a lot about the 146 in regards to Philadelphia as well. There was a Vermont train wreck that happened 146 days after the Philadelphia train wreck. Last year, the Warriors won 146 days after Steph Curry shot his first 9 of 23 ever in his career. Allen Iverson equals 146. Larry Brown equals 146. On Lupercalia, we even got, the first day of Lupercalia, the day that Antonin Scalia died, we even got 3 stories that all involved the number 146. John Calipari got thrown out after 146 seconds into the game. He even used to be an assistant coach for the Philadelphia 76ers. We also got a huge pileup in Philadelphia. Can't even remember what highway or whatever, but it involved the number 146. Also, you had the death of, oh man, can't think of the guy's name, but he was the part owner for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they showed the big sign where he crashed or whatever. It was the 14-6 and whatnot. There's just been lots of 146 coding. Kyrie Irving even shot 9 of 23, 146 days after LeBron shot 9 of 23 on 11-4 this year. But also, Elton Brand came back that day on January 4th, but this day was also the same day that the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Toronto Raptors 122-100. The Cleveland Cavaliers record became 23-9. But just interesting, the score was 122-100. That adds up to the 222. If you total the score up, Amtrak equals 222. Lots of other 222s connected to the Golden State Warriors. They got Anderson Varejao on 222. But also, the Cavs scored 122 points. If you write out Golden State, it equals 122. If you write out Pope Francis, it equals 122. So just interesting, I guess, that this train wreck happened in 87 on a day that actually this year connects to a lot of 923 stuff. Also, it was on 1/4, and it says that 14 passengers died on the train. So, who knows? Gonna end this one here. Got a whole bunch of other videos in regards to Philadelphia and whatnot coming up. So, peace.